Hello and welcome to Orphan Brick. And today's video, well, I apologize for not uploading a video last week. It's because I was sick for multiple days and just was unable to record. But this week I'm back, and I'm just gonna say, for multiple days I was unsure what I was gonna do until I randomly had this idea. And so yeah, this is a mini probe to Ike. And so launching on a first aid Link's first stage and then a Wolfhound second stage, this launch vehicle, I'm not really sure where I was going with it, I just wanted to make something that was different. And so, yeah, we're going to Ike because I don't believe I've been there enjoying this queue. And so, yeah. And we already launched a Duna transfer window, in which I got using Kerbal Alarm Clock. And I can now plot some maneuvers to get to Duna. And yeah, at this point, not much to say about this. Just, yeah, it's a destination I hadn't been to before, and I had no other idea for any way to do it more fancily. So I just say a mini probe. And there. And yeah, you saw me plan out our entire trajectory. So we do our curb and escape burn. And after a while, we're on a trajectory to Duna, except we'll have to do a mid-course correction, which after time working away from Kerbin, which gets interrupted by some annoying Kerbalism notifications, which can be silenced. We can continue to time warp towards the mid-course correction, and after a while, and probably a cut here about now, we should finally get that mid-course correction that I've been talking about. Seriously, how long is it gonna take? There we go. Yeah, super simple. Just to get us nice and close to Duna. And yeah, you can see our orbit there. And I have to aim for an equatorial orbit since we're going to Ike, and Ike is an equatorial plane. And just correcting our trajectory a bit more. And yeah, so Duna's atmosphere stops at 70 kilometers during this queue. I'm aiming for about 75 kilometers. And after just some unsavory lag spikes, we're finally at Duna, and so can approach periapsis. And fairly soon, we can do our orbital insertion burn. This will be split for 2 stages. First is a Terrier stage, and then a smaller stage using a maneuvering engine from a near future spacecraft. And I'll actually stop this burn early since we can get a nice Ike encounter very quickly. And while I was time warping to do some maneuvers, when I messed up my I messed up something, and now we're out of we're out of electricity because the solar panels are not facing towards the sun. I messed up the orientation, and so now we need to wait, I believe, 45 days for the solar panels to finally start facing the sun again. And with that, my previous maneuver is unusable, and I now need to figure out another way to get to Ike. I'll try a few different maneuver plans, but this final one will work. We're actually going to first lower orbit around Duna, and after one orbit, we'll then raise it again. And there we go. Now we approach Ike. And so as we get closer to Ike, I'll first get the thrust limiter on the engine back up. And yeah, so far Ike looks pretty unremarkable, doesn't it? Just another grey rock with craters on it. However, apparently there's some interesting stuff on it, which I'll get to later when it becomes extremely visible. So we can insert into orbit. And I originally planned for this to just be a satellite. However, I then realized that we're actually going to have enough Delta V to land, which will be shown later. But now that we're in orbit, we can use the camera, which is from Wholcam VDS, and we can do some nice scenic shots of Ike. And using persistent rotation for the spacecraft to keep its attitude through time warp. Except that we've gone off communications range now. But soon enough, we'll be oriented correctly again. And yeah, again, not much to really remark about Ike. There are some pretty large craters on it, which I noticed that the craters, they have very dark sides, and well, compared to the rest of the surface, which is significantly lighter colored. And so, well, we can do the orbit burn, since, well, we're landing. And I'm aiming for one of those aforementioned large craters, which you can see our orbit line crossing there, and it's the largest crater you can see ahead of us. And so, fairly soon now, we'll start our deceleration. And as we get closer to the surface, it appears there's some interference with our ability to view the spacecraft. And you can see some interesting surface features. There's very large red crystals. Yeah, no, I had no idea this was on Ike. I assumed this is part of a genus Q, or possibly a parallax. I'm pretty sure, in stock parallax, yeah, these are on Ike, but I didn't realize they were on genus Q, Ike parallax. Which is probably a nonsensical sentence if you don't understand how the parallax configs work. And yeah, these are clearly interfering with our ability to communicate with the spacecraft, since yeah, my camera is completely broken. But a quick save and quick load fixes that. And yeah, you can see some these are pretty interesting as they appear out of nowhere effectively. I probably need to do something with my parallax config to fix that. Yeah. And so we continue to approach this very large crystal that just happened to be in our flight path. And so, yeah, you can see it's a very large object. The point of it is about, well, it's a few hundred meters above the surface. And as we get lower, you can see there's actually some smaller groups of crystals below us. And you can see the larger crystal glistening in the sunlight. And so yeah, I'm just inspecting this strange object. And we continue to get lower. I considered actually landing on the crystal. However, I decided against that because I'm unsure if these actually maintain their orientation after quick saves, and so I don't want my probe to just fall. So we landed next to these smaller piles. And we can then detach the probe from its transfer stage and deploy the science equipment. We intend to use the magnetometer boom as sort of a landing leg. And we can use the extremely powerful reaction wheels to orientate the craft. And we can come to a gentle rest on the surface. And so, there we go, we're landed on Ike. And yeah, we've discovered some interesting structures which will definitely need further investigation. So yeah, I'm going to end off with some shots of the spacecraft on the surface. I want to thank you for watching, please like and subscribe, and goodbye.